Good day everyone! Today, I'm gonna share to you my journey going to the United States, and I'll also be sharing some of my colleagues' experience on coming to the United States during this COVID pandemic era. And as always, I'll try to do it step by step or in details in order for you to learn something from our experiences. And I'll be throwing some tips for you that I'm sure that will be helpful for you during your journey here to the United States. So stay tuned and watch till the end. I'm Nurse Juan your OFW nurse. Before proceeding to the airport, you have to prepare a lot of things first. So here are the tips before going to the airport. Number 1, pack your bags appropriately and comply with the TSA regulations, which I explained on my previous videos. So make sure to watch that first. Next is to prepare all the documents needed. The tickets, the itinerary. Make sure you also have a soft copy stored in your cell phone, just in case. The next is on your passport and other valuable things. Make sure to put in some details of your address or email address, just in case your items will be lost and some people will need to contact you. It's best to put in your social media account or the messaging apps or your email address, just in case it gets lost, because definitely they might not be able to call you through your phone unless you're roaming. And usually in airports, they usually have Wi-Fi, so definitely they can send you a message about it, just in case they intend to return some of your stuff. And during this COVID pandemic era, make sure to call your airlines first, as different airlines and different entry points to the United States have different protocols with regards to COVID measures. FYI, the COVID protocols and requirements may change from time to time, depending on this particular state with regards to their situations, and of course, with the guidelines updates. So it's really best to call first and clarify with your airlines. Like some airlines do require you to have a COVID swab test 3 days before your departure, and some airlines won't even bother about it. The next is, plan some of the activities that you will be doing during your long flights, because it will definitely get boring at some point on your long flight, especially if you're not doing anything. Or especially those family or who has children coming with them, make sure to get some activities for them. Because definitely children can get anxious during a long flights, and having something to distract them with will definitely ease their anxieties and also ease your stress. FYI, there's no internet on these long flights, so make sure to try to find activities that doesn't involve internet access. Like you can download Netflix, movies or series, or you can bring a book or bring a storybook for the children. Be creative. The next is, plan your travel time going to the airport. Make sure to arrive at the airport at least 2 hours before. At least. Then when you're traveling about your planning time, make sure to key in the particular hours of the day that you will be traveling and the day you will be traveling as well. Like for example, in Manila, there's certain times wherein traffic will really get worse, like during rush hours. So if you'll be traveling during those times, make sure to come earlier or to allot more hours. Also, in some days, like Friday, during a Friday, traffic can really be so bad that to the point that it will be so stressful, and to the point that you might miss your flight just because of this certain traffic. So make sure during these days, travel earlier. You don't want to be late on your most important flight of your life. Then, if you're not from Metro Manila and you're planning to stay overnight in Manila just before your flight, make sure to get a hotel a little bit closer to the airport. That will definitely save you time and stress. Like for us, we traveled earlier before the rush hour, and when we arrived at the airport, we had a lot of time left for us. Too much time actually that we were not allowed to go into the airport in NAIA Terminal 1. So we had more time spending outside with our family before our flight. One of the hardest thing about migrating to the United States is leaving some of your family behind, especially if you're not feeling well or they're partially sick. There's always this fear of uncertainty. So saying goodbyes during this time is really, really hard. When we went into the airport, the check-in counter for our particular airlines was not yet open. So what we did is we tried to find some of the weighing scales and weigh some of our bags to make sure that they are all complying with the specific weight limit as stated by the airline, which is 23 kilograms for our check-in baggages and 10 kilograms for our carry-on baggages. As per my colleague, when you enter the terminal or the airport, you have to wear the mask and your face shield. And during the entire flight, you have to wear both of them. Then some airlines would even require you to wear the whole PPE suit, including the scrap suits. So it really depends from airlines to airlines, as I said earlier. So it's best to call them. Then, once the Japan airline counter was open, they gave us some form to fill up. The first one was the Japan Customs Declaration form. Then the next one is the health declaration form. Then the next one is the travel health forms. These two forms are new for the COVID pandemic protocols when flying to the United States or somewhere else. These forms differ from airline to airline, but mostly they will just ask some personal questions and with regards to your health conditions. From the Japan airline counter, they gave us all the tickets from Philippines to Japan, from Japan to Dallas, and from Dallas to Lexington. They gave it all for us. The next is the Philippine immigration counter. Here, for us, we didn't have any problems because here we completed all the documents necessary and we were on immigrant status. The next is we proceeded to the boarding gate. Here we waited for like 30 minutes before our flight was called in for boarding time. Estimated travel time will be 4 hours from Philippines to Haneda Airport. Then at the plane, since this is a Japanese airline or a flag carrier airline, the services were really great. This is actually our first time to ride a plane wherein the TV on the back seats are actually working. Most of the time during our travels from Singapore to Hong Kong to Philippines, none of those things are working. Mostly they are only for display purposes, I guess. There's a lot of things you can do with this device. This is really nice for long flights. You can read some ebooks, you can watch some movies, you can track your route going to the United States or see the GPS map or the world map. Then also, the food here was really great. It was really nice. By the way, most of the airlines do not have a social distancing plan for the seating arrangement. Only few airlines comply wherein there's a one seat apart from one passenger to the other. So don't be surprised if you'll be seated to another strangers side by side during this pandemic era. Also, you will be asked to wear your mask and your shield during the most of your flights. So after wait, we slept for the duration of the flight and just woke up when the plane was about to land. And when we left the plane, we tried to look for the section wherein it's for the transfer or for the connecting flights. Unfortunately, most of the signs are not in English. They're in Japanese. So we had a hard time finding where exactly we have to go. Tip: make sure to download the Google App Translator. And we tried to ask some people for help. Unfortunately, some of them could not understand English as well. Fortunately, some of them know what to do with this kind of scenario. So they escorted us to someone who knows how to speak in English. Then, when we spoke to the staff who can speak in English, she collected our passport details as well as our flight details. Then, she filled in a slip of paper, which I believe is a temporary travel pass. Then we used the slip going to the Japanese immigration counter. Then after passing to the Japanese immigrations, we had to pick up all of our luggages. Then they instructed us to buy a bus ticket going from Haneda Airport going to Narita Airport. But before buying the tickets, I had to go to the bathroom and take a leak. Then here, I saw the authentic or the traditional Japanese toilet, wherein they have like a sprinkles coming out from the toilet seat and has like a temperature module and everything. I wanted to try, but I didn't have to go, so I just admired it from top. I felt like a pervert using a camera inside our male's restroom. Oh, so the toilet was something really new for me, which I think only can be found in Japan or mostly in Japan areas. And thinking it's a public toilet. Then after buying the ticket, we went down. We tried to look for the particular bus stop and queue as indicated on the bus lanes. Then when the bus came, they had like a ticketing scheme, especially for those luggages. So when you buy a ticket, they put a sticker with a particular number that's same with your ticket number. So if you need to claim them later on, you can only claim them by showing your number. So this is like a safety feature for them. So it's a really nice thing. It's a definitely good way to prevent some theft or accidental carrying of other luggages that is not yours. The whole trip for us lasted for 1 hour. There was nothing really to see because we drove through the expressway. So we only saw like trees, cars, and road. Nothing exciting. I'll be surely coming back to explore Japan one of these days after this COVID pandemic ends. Then when we arrived to Narita Airport, they asked us to proceed to the counter. Then at the counter, we checked in some of our luggages. Then they asked us to proceed to the waiting area. We still had like 1 hour waiting time before the plane actually asked us to board. So we had a lot of time left. So what we did, of course, we tried to buy some stuff that are quite appealing to our eyes, especially the snacks that we don't have or we never tasted before. And here we only use like a debit card from our ATM. Then at the plane, for me, this will be my longest flight ever. My longest flight before was only like 4 hours maximum. But for this one here, it will be like 12 hours. So imagine sitting down on a plane for 12 hours. So definitely you have to do something. Good thing there's a lot of movies offering. Also, there are some free headsets that they're giving. And you can plug in your charger for the phone. And of course, like on our first flight, this time, the food was also great. And they gave us like every 3 hours, they gave us a snack or a food. It was really, really great. So the 12 hours flight was okay in a way. I was able to sleep some few hours, but it still felt really long. And during my time, we didn't have to wear a mask. So if I was wearing a mask and a shield, it will definitely be harder. So make sure to bring some more distractions for you in order for you to have an easier flight or in order to pass the time faster. And 12 hours after, we landed. We landed at Dallas, Texas. Then after we left the plane, they asked us to proceed to the US immigration counter or at the Customs and Border Protection counters. This was the moment of truth for us because during this stage, you can still be denied and asked to go back to your original country with regards to different factors involved. Then after a few minutes, it was finally our turn. He requested our visa passport, then asked us to do a fingerprint scanning. Then he collected our visa packet. The next was the most curious part for me, which is the Q&A or the question and answer portion. He started asking basic questions like what's your name, your date of birth, both for me and for my wife. The next question he asked is what are you going to do in the United States? I told him I'll be a registered nurse working here. Then he asked me what's your employer's name? I told him my specific agency. And next he asked what's the address for that particular agency? I told him the address which is listed here in Houston. Then he asked me what's my mailing address. I told him to use the same address as my employer which is located at Houston. Then the next question is, are you headed somewhere else after going through Houston? Our agency actually told us how to answer some of these questions. They told us to say no. I could have easily said no, but I saw the immigration officer holding my job order, which has my specific hospital listed on it and the address which is Kentucky. So I was not sure what to answer honestly. So I was thinking he might be testing me. So for me, I preferred not to lie, so I just told him the truth that I'll be going to Kentucky after a year, that I have a flight. And he said, what? Why are you going there? I said, that's the place where I'll be working at. But my agency is actually based here in Houston. So he asked me what's my mailing address at that particular state or county. I told him I don't have a particular address yet as I will be looking when I get to Kentucky. So where do you want me to send your green card? I told him to send it to my employer's address which is in Houston. Then the officer would say, okay. And type. It was a long type. Me and Mrs. were really panicking deep inside. It's really crumbling inside, honestly. We were really panicking because I said something which I'm not supposed to say as instructed. So we're not sure what's going to happen to us really. Then good thing, after which the immigration officer said, okay, everything looks good. Welcome to the United States. So I was really happy and really like shaking at that moment that actually passed. But I was so overwhelmed that I forgot to ask him about the social security number. Because that's what my employer told me, to ask the immigration officer about the social security number as well. Just to have like a follow-up for it. Because there have been issues with regards to social security number, and I will tell you in my next video about it. Because I also had a problem with it. That was one of the most intense and really nerve-wracking experience for me. But for you guys, fortunately for you guys, you don't have to experience this anymore. No, you don't have to. As stated by a few of my colleagues who came here to the United States as an immigrant, they didn't have to go through that kind of process. The only thing they did is, they queued to the foreigner's lane, after which they gave their passport to do a fingerprint scanning. Then they were asked to go to a specific room and wait there. They waited for around 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, their name was called and they handed over the visa packet. The only question they were asked was, what is your mailing address for the social security number? That's it. That's it. So you guys are really lucky that you don't have to go to that kind of stress. Then one couple who came in recently to the United States through Dallas Fort, when she came in, they didn't even ask her about the visa packet. Then when she told her about the visa packet, they said, I could check those online. I don't really have to look at it. But she still took it. But it made you wonder that actually they really might not need it. because everything was sent to them online, right? So they can look everything online. Then, when you're giving your mailing address, make sure to double check it. You don't want to have any problems with your mailing address, as this will be the address will be sending your green card as well as your social security numbers. If you made a mistake, you might cause major delays in your process for working in the United States. The next thing is for the security check going to the United States. So here we had to queue for like 20 to 30 minutes because there was a long queue here. The security officers were really tedious when it comes to checking your luggages. Like for me, they had to do a secondary search on my bag because, like I said, on my backpack, most of the things inside are gadgets and wires. So I think they were having some suspicions and wanted to check and verify everything that's inside, just to be on the safer side. And luckily for me, they cleared everything and they asked us to proceed further. So right after, we were rushing going to our next counter because we only had like 30 minutes before our flight leaves us. So we had to find the specific counter or the specific airport for that particular check-in counter. So we had to ride a small train going to our particular check-in counter. And luckily, we arrived just in time. Like 10 minutes after we arrived, the plane left. It was that. The flight from Dallas Fort to Lexington will take around 2 hours plus. By the way, here in the US, no one really uses a face shield in public. So during a flight, you're only required to use a face mask. You can wear a face shield, but it will look awkward because no one is using it. But if you really want to be protected, you can. During our flight, we were a bit scared because the plane was small and there was a lot of turbulence. Turns out, US has a lot of windy places. So the 2-hour trip was not really a nice one as compared to our 2 previous airline trips. Then 20 minutes before the landing time, we were able to look at Kentucky at the top view. And all I see was horses, trees, cows, and more horses. Like everywhere. For the last 20 minutes. That's what we all saw. So it's like a barn, farm type everywhere for the last 20 minutes. We didn't know that Lexington was considered the horse capital of the United States. Honestly, for me and for my wife, we were not really optimistic during those times. Because we were used to living in a city life area for the last 5 years. And now we'll be transitioning to a more country type. So we're not sure if we were really looking forward to it. Then when we landed, during the time when we were getting our luggages, there was one luggage for me which was missing. So when I asked, they said the baggage was left back in Dallas. And they said that bag will be sent to our hotel or our destinations at the end of the day. They had to do it because the plane that we rode was a bit on the overweight side. So they had to cut off. And here we met our agent, our mama bear. We were really lucky enough to have her as our agent because she was really comforting, helpful, and really professional. So that's one of the blessings I had with this agency. Then, when we were loading our luggages on the back of our SUV, it was just enough. There was 3 of us and the luggages were really stacked up nicely. So, make sure if someone is picking you up, make sure they have a good trunk space and tell them the size of the luggages you have or the amount of luggages that you will be bringing to the United States so they can estimate. Especially if you're living like hours away from the airport, which is really typical here in the United States. The next is we drove to our hotel. The name of the hotel we stayed in was Hampton Inn. It was a nice hotel, clean, the services was great. We just went there and dropped off some of our luggages. Then we go to eat our lunch or late lunch. We ate at a Chinese restaurant. Napansin the menu and the prices. I was a bit shocked. Really. It's like for me, compute. And everything was pricey. Good thing the agent treated us for that particular food. Actually, whenever she's around, she's always treating everything. So she pays everything for us. Then after eating, we went back to the hotel and slept. We slept like a log. And we woke up around 10 p.m. at that night. And we decided to buy some water. We wanted to explore the area. And here, we spent our first dollar. We were actually paying $100 bill to buy just a bottle of water. So, luckily the guy was understanding and he found a way to get some change for us. So, the next day, we ate a breakfast. The breakfast was okay for this particular hotel. Then we prepared going to our particular city which will take around 2 to 3 hours going to our new city location or to our new hotel near my working place. And when we arrived at the hotel was a place wherein I really had a lot of stress, like really stressful times. There's a lot of things I had to do, I had to decide, and to think and plan everything out, even before my social security number arrived. There are a lot of things you need to do and need to learn to do when you arrive here in the United States, which I'll be sharing to you guys on my next video, or next video. So make sure to click the subscribe button. So during this time, during this COVID pandemic era, US is not really requiring you to have a swab test when you arrive here in the United States. Most of the states will ask you to self-quarantine for 14 days. For this particular thing, if you're under an agency, make sure to ask them what will happen or where will you be staying for the next 14 days and who will provide you for the particular daily necessities like food, groceries, and everything. Because during my time, it was really different. So we didn't have those restrictions. Because definitely, if you're on quarantine, you have to have the help needed in order to get things for you to go by day to day. Hope you learned something from this video. If you have any questions, suggestions, or any comments, please comment down below. Again, I'm Nurse Juan de la Cruz, your OFW nurse. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye.